Hello. So today we're going to be making a simple side table. So it's a really beginner-friendly project, and I hope you enjoy the build. So for this project, the first thing we're going to obviously need is some wood. So I got my guys from the hardware to deliver for me some timber, and I had to do a bit of cleanup for it to be the way I wanted to do the project. So I started with some bit of planing and just to clean up the surfaces to give me an easier time in terms of sanding much later on. Then I moved on to um, cleaning up the ends so that it will give me an easier time when I start the glue up later on in the project. So the first step was to glue up the leg together. So like if you're interested in building out this project, you can download the free plans, which I'll add to the description of the video. So here the clamps really came in handy to hold the piece together. I was considering using screws, but eventually I thought the clamps and the glue would be strong enough to put the leg together. So I just added some more clamps and waited for the piece to dry. So while waiting for the leg to dry, I moved on to preparing the top and bottom pieces. I started by cutting them out to size and then gluing them up. So here again the clamps will really come in handy just to hold the piece together for the glue to bind. So once the pieces were dry, I moved on to sanding just to clean out the spill out of the glue. Usually when you glue up there's a bit of spill out. And next up I moved on to squaring out the pieces. And so my jig here is usually an MVP in a lot of projects, like it gives you a much more professional looking result even if you're a noob. So at this point I was really happy with how the project was taking shape, and I did a dry fit of all the pieces just to see how everything goes. Next up, this is an optional step. I started with rounding over the edges. So I have a router, so like I think it was really a no-brainer for me to use it for this. And I really liked how the pieces were turning out at the end, so it gives the piece a much more cleaner look, much more professional, and I think that's the whole goal. So the joinery method that I settled for was using pocket holes. I think again it's a really beginner friendly way to get into joinery if you're not more comfortable with the more complicated types of joinery. So the pocket holes make it really easy to put these pieces together. I didn't really need to use glue. And from this angle you can see how beautiful the wood looks, and yeah. So up to this point everything was coming together nicely, but as you'll see later on in the video, I quickly learned one of the beginner mistakes you do when you're trying to use pocket holes. So the pocket holes are ideally meant to eat into the wood, and in this case you'll see I made a very weak joint, and you'll see in the finished product I had to change the orientation of the pocket holes, such that I was attaching them now from the top rather than the bottom, in which case I had to use a bit of wood filler to clean up the holes after attaching the pocket holes. But the end result was a much stronger joint edge, you'll see here. So thanks for watching, and if you like this type of content, please consider liking and sharing.